Okay, on the pressure test, a lot more steps than hydraulic. In this, you have to have the entire part. This is what I was going to tell you. I was going to give you something scary, but I'm going to try to make it not so scary for you. This is the one area that you have to be perfect from start to finish. If you miss one thing or don't do it right, it's an automatic fail. Because this is the way the vehicle stops. So you have to know that you don't have any problem. You do not have any problems anywhere. However, there are things that the bus will do to help you figure out what might be wrong. First of all, when you are going to do the pressure test, you should not hear anything. As in, the engine cannot be running. Engine has to be off. If the engine is running and you're doing your pressure test, is what's going to happen is your compressor is going to kick back in and try to fill your tanks back up. While you're trying to get the air out of them, the compressor is putting it back in, working against you. And so therefore you cannot see if you have any leaks. So engine has to be off. Next step is the key has to be in the run position. Your computer has to be active so that it can read all the sensors and stuff that's going on. Okay, we have our two air gauges here. Right now, you're not concerned about the pressure that they're at right now. We will get to that later. First thing we're going to do, the next thing we're going to do is check our parking brake. The parking brake has to be off in order to do the pressure test. If your parking brake is on, then air is not getting through the entire, getting through all the way to past the air canister. It's not pushing up the slack adjuster. So we have to take our parking brake off. We'll let off of our brakes gently to make sure the bus is going to stay. If it's not, we'll need to reset our parking brake, go chocolate tire, get back in, take the parking brake back off. I'm going to show you the keys in a minute. It's going to make this not so scary. You're not filming right now, are you? Oh, you're fine, you're fine. You're okay. Parking brake is off, our keys in run position. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to press down and hold our brake pedal for 1 minute. And we're going to watch our gauges to make sure that we do not lose more than 3 psi. You're going to ask the tester to time you, because if you time yourself and your minute does not match up with their minute, and let's say they only have you down for 59 seconds, you just failed. Avoid that. I'm going to hold my pedal down for 1 minute to make sure I do not lose more than 3 psi. Will you time me? They will say yes. You're going to push down the pedal and say, can you time me now? And they'll start timing you. When your minute is up, they'll say, okay, your time's up. You can say, I did not lose more than 3 psi. The next step is you're going to feather the brakes down. At 60 psi, we're going to listen for a low pressure warning system, which is a dash light and an audible buzzer. Here we go. There's our dash light and our audible buzzer sounding. We're going to now feather the brakes down between 45 and 20 psi. And we're going to look for our spring to release by popping out, which will set our parking brake. The parking brake has popped out. We know the spring is working, functioning properly. At this point, we're going to start the engine. We're going to watch our gauges to ensure that they are taking air. At 60 psi, we're going to look to make sure that the low pressure warning system disengages, which means the light will go out and the buzzer will go off, and then the tanks will stop charging at 125 psi. And you definitely, they'll tell you, if you don't automatically do it, they'll tell you throttle the engine up to get it going. I just got the crap out of it. My tanks have hit 60, my low pressure warning system has disengaged. time now. My pressure valve has released. My tanks are at 125 psi. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to test my parking brake. I know that I know it came on in the right pressure. Now I need to make sure it's going to hold. I'm going to shift the vehicle into drive. Now we're not going to do the rolling stop part. I'm going to shift the vehicle into drive and I'm going to throttle the engine to make sure it holds. And it has. Now I'm going to disengage the parking brake, bring the bus to 5 miles an hour and bring it to a stop. I'm going to ensure that it stops smoothly with no pulls to the right or left that could indicate a mechanical problem. When you're bringing it to 5 miles an hour, watch your needle. Take a look at what's going on out there in front of you. Make sure there's nothing you're going to hit. When you go from the brake pedal to hit the throttle, put it all the way to the floor. You know what I'm talking about. Did you test in Lee Summit or Sedalia?
Sedalia.
Okay, well if you get Lee Summit, you got to get it going up pretty quick, pretty fast. Because depending on where they have you do this part, your area is small. So what I tell people is make sure you're not going to run over anything. Then watch your gauge. As soon as your speedometer hits 5 miles an hour, then let off the throttle and go to your brake. And you might have to brake kind of hard, but not so hard you're throwing yourself through the windshield. Then you're going to tell them it did not pull and it stopped smoothly. Then you're done. Okay, so I want to go over a couple of things that's going to help you guys out. First of all, if I was to do a pressure test right now, can I?
No.
Why? Well, okay. Technically, yes, because we can't do our rolling stop with the hood up. But what's another reason we couldn't do it right now?
Something about air.
What?
Something about air. Engine's on.
Engine's on. Oh. Remember, cannot do it with the engine on, so we got to kill the engine. So, what do we do now? What's the next step?
Turn the key to the run position.
Very good. Then what's the next step?
Then just make sure the parking brake's off.
Very good. I want to pause right there though. This is a 3-step process right there. Okay? Now I love it when I can link stuff together like this because it just makes it that much easier to learn something. Your first step, when you know that you're going to do a pressure test, your first step is the keys in your hand or the keys already in ignition. And somebody says, hey, Amanda, I want you to go out and do a pre-trip on that bus. But everything's been checked, I just need you to do the pressure check. Well, you get on the bus. I do that all the time. You get on the bus, they've already pre-tripped it, but now they want you to do the pressure test. So you're like, okay, well, you know the engine has to be off. Okay, so you go ahead and kill the engine, and you got to make sure the computer is running, so you got to go and turn the key back to the run position. So the first 2 steps is right here with this ignition switch, making sure it's in the run position with the engine off. Then your very next hand movement with your hand is straight up. Parking brake. Now the parking brake needs to have all of your attention. Can I turn it off? Can I take the parking brake off and the bus not roll? Well, if I can't, I'm going to set the parking brake. I'm going to get out and I'm going to chalk the tire wherever it needs to be chalked. You flip that switch right there. I'm going to try to cool it off in here a little bit because it's really hot in here. I need to make sure that I can take the parking brake off without rolling. So, let's say I'm rolling forward. I'm going to get out. You can chalk your front tire. You're going to chalk the front tire. You get back on the bus. There's a reason you had to get off of that bus. Make sure you utilize that reason. It's so you can take your parking brake off. You're going to disengage your put pressure on your brake pedal. You're going to push that brake in, and then you're going to lock gently off of your brake pedal so you can gently go against your chalk. Okay? And then now those 3 steps are done. You have your next 3 steps have to do with your brake pedal. The first one is pushing and holding it down for 1 minute, making sure you do not lose more than 3 psi. After that, an HPP, if you can think of this, hold, pump, pump. You got to hold it before you can pump it. So you're holding it down for 1 minute to ensure it does not lose more than 3 psi. After you know it's good there, the first time you're going to pump it is to test what?
The 60.
And what happens at 60?
The buzzer.
The buzzer and dash light.
Yep.
And then what is the next pressures I'm looking for? And what is it that I'm looking for at
25 and 40. Looking for the spring brake.
Okay, half and half. Take the 5 and put it on the other number.
Oh, okay, 20 to 45.
20 to 45. That should pop out, right?
Oh.
Okay, so check this out. And then we started back up, we charged all back up, but I want to stop right there. Because this is where a lot of mistakes are made, is in this process right here. And this area is so easily, mistakes are so easily avoided in this area. For instance, let's say you have to be aware of this part. I mean, you just have to be conscious of what's going on when you're getting ready to start your pre-trip. That's where it needs to start, is out there, that engine. If it's running, you need to shut it off. Okay, so let's say it was running, so I shut it off. I just shut the engine off. Okay, so let's say, however, okay, so I shut the engine off. I'm trying to figure out why that's buzzing at me. That's why. Okay. I shut the engine off, but let's say I forgot to put it back in the run position. Real easy. Check this out. You put your foot on the brake pedal. That should not happen. You take your foot off and everything goes out, but then you put it back on there again. What's going on is the brake pedal is alerting the computer that something's going on inside the bus. And we need power, at least to the computer, to find out what's going on and make sure everything is okay. Easy fix. Check your key position. Put it to the run. Activate that computer. Now the computer's up. The brake pedal no longer does that. So, link that together. If that brake pedal controls anything on this dash except for these two gauges right here, that key is not in the right position. Okay, so we've got that figured out. So, check this out. That's step number one. You start with your key. Is my engine running? Yes. So we just killed it. My key needs to be in the run position. My brake pedal will let me know that. So I'm safe there. The brake pedal will remind me if my key's in the right position to check that. My next movement is right here to the brake. Let's say I forgot to take my parking brake off. And so it's on right now. My parking brake is on. You cannot do your pressure test if your parking brake is on. But let's say I forgot to take it off. So I'm sitting there. I held it down for 1 minute. My minute's up. No 3 psi. 60 psi, dash light and buzzer goes on. Now, I'm going to pump between 45 and 20 psi for my spring brake to release. If you're pumping the heck out of this thing and that button just isn't popping, reach over there. If you push it and it goes in and comes right back out, well actually if it goes in, your parking brake wasn't on. So if you can move this in when you're waiting for that and it didn't pop out, well, you know what, I have my parking brake on. I need to start over. Okay, so once again, the last point that the bus can help you is when you're bleeding them down and that button is not popping out.
Because it's already out.
Just push it out. It was already out. You got to start over. So let's go ahead and get the system charged back up.